I got myself some carnivorous plants. I don't usually bother with house plants. I like to grow plants outdoors because growing them indoors you have to give them the right conditions. They're not generally from this part of the world and they don't do particularly well. But these carnivorous ones that I've got, 1, 2, 3 of the 4 species should do absolutely fine. Let me show you. Now, as crazy and tropical as they look, these plants actually aren't tropical, with the exception of that one. We'll come to that in a minute. But this one here is a North American pitcher plant. What's it known as? It is a Sarracenia. Here we've got your standard Venus flytrap, and I've just fed it a worm in that one and a woodlouse in that one. And down here we've got some sundews, which are Drosera or Drosera. Now all of these plants, these 1, 2, 3 here, they're temperate plants. They're from North Carolina and the south of Canada. So they're used to hot summers and cold winters, and they go into a period of dormancy over the winter. So all of the foliage will die back to the rhizome, the little crown that sits just at the surface, and then each spring they'll grow back again. So they're actually quite well suited to growing in the UK. We get a cold winter and the plant gets its dormancy period, which it requires. Now this one here, this is a tropical plant. This one is a Nepenthes, that's it, Nepenthes. And these come from Borneo, Malaysia, Thailand, places like that. But they are highland plants. They grow up in the mountains, so they can take a certain amount of cold weather. But they don't have a dormant period. They need to keep growing all year round. So come winter, this one's going to have to go indoors into the house. And that's when things can get a little bit sketchy for house plants, because these like a lot of humidity. In order to produce their pitchers on the end of their leaves there, they require humidity, and I spray this a couple of times a day just to keep the humidity up. But of course indoors in the winter, when you've got your central heating on, they don't like that very much. So it's going to be a bit of trial and error. I'm going to be as careful as I can to try and get it through the winter inside the house. But these ones here, we just let them die back. They stay out here in the conservatory, and then next spring they'll put on new growth. Now they've all been eating really well. The fly trap has been catching its own flies, plus I've been giving it little bits and pieces as well. The North American pitcher plant here, this has got a lot of flies in it. I peeked down the top there yesterday and I saw a pair of little dead eyes looking back at me. A fly had gone in butt first, its head pointing upwards, and when I looked in this one there was a whole pile of dead flies trapped in the bottom here. Now when the light drops a bit in the evening, what I find works well to have a look inside, you can peek down the top there, and I'll shine a torch through the side of the stem, and with that sort of internal illumination you can see how many are in there. And it's been taking great big fat blue bottles and green bottles, massive great big flies. Whereas the sundew here, that tends to take gnats and fruit flies. That little one there, that was struggling a little while ago. It seems to have finally succumbed and it's being digested by those sticky enzymes. And also the tropical one here, that's been taken. I'm not going to do it because I've done it a few times already and I'm not sure how good it is for the pictures. If you lift that little cap up and look inside, you can actually see there's again lots of little gnats and fruit flies in those pictures, just like the sundew there. I think they look amazing. They look absolutely brilliant, and I like pottering around each evening after work, doing what my plants need to be happy, and these are something a bit different to play with. I've got high hopes for these ones. They'll be absolutely fine. As long as I can get this little fella through the winter, if I can master that, I think I've cracked carnivorous plants. I think they're really good fun to grow. Like I said, I don't usually bother with houseplants at all, not even your standard spider plant or anything like that. I've just never bothered with houseplants. These, however, they're interesting enough that I'm really enjoying growing them. Oh, they need rainwater. I mist them with rainwater, and I also water the pots with rainwater. If you use water out the tap, it's just got too many minerals in it. Tap water, bottled water, none of that's any good. Some people say if you boil the water it helps. Well, that only gets rid of the chlorine, it doesn't actually get rid of any of the minerals. In fact, actually, as you evaporate the water off and it condenses, you're actually concentrating the minerals in that water. And also leaving it to sit for a few days, again, it gets rid of the chlorine, but it's the minerals and nutrients in the water that actually damage the roots. They'll burn the roots off of the plants and they'll die quite quickly. So that's an important thing. I've been collecting rainwater, that's all they get. And the soil that they're growing in, it's very low, it's special soil that I bought from the garden centre. It's very low nutrient and it's got perlite and horticultural sand mixed into it. So it's all very light and airy and fluffy. Nothing too dense, nothing too soggy. And they want to be watered from the bottom because these ones, they're bog plants. I'm going backwards. There you go, they're bog plants. Okay, let's get up the allotment. I'm well behind. The weather's not been much help. And the time that I've taken off work recently to go and do work on the allotment, it's been pouring down. Finally, this weekend, actually, it's looking okay. I've not caught up yet, but maybe by the end of this weekend, we might be getting somewhere up there. Let's go and have a look. Quite a nice bright day in Kensworth. Most importantly, it's dry. It's not raining. Look at all the pears I've got coming on there, look. Loads of them. Right, let's see where we're at then with the allotment. I've got a lot of stuff planted out, but nowhere near enough. This bed here is full of garlic and onions. And there's more garlic in there. No carrots planted yet. That's okay. There's more urgent things to get into the ground, things that I've got in pots that really want to get out of those pots. So sowing carrots in these, that's okay. You can do that at any point throughout the summer. I'll wait for that. I've got my potatoes in down there. We'll go and have a look at those in a minute. This bed here, the brassica bed, this is what needs to be worked on urgently because it's my cauliflowers, cabbages, swedes, broccoli. It's them which are outgrowing their little pots and the roots are trying to get out the bottom. They've really desperately got to get in the ground. And I saw Timbo's allotment video this week. Well done, Timbo. Even though you're the hired help, the labourer, well done on getting an allotment, you and your missus. This reminds me of the bed that Timbo showed in his video. He'd only weeded it a week earlier, I think he said, and then he came back and it looked like this. I feel for you, Timbo. I know exactly how you feel. I did this one about 2 weeks ago, and stupidly I didn't cover it over when I'd finished. I usually do. I didn't cover it over, and as a result I've got to go through it all again in order to get my brassicas in there under the netting, which will keep all of the butterflies and the caterpillars off of them. That's what needs doing first, but because I've been so delayed with the weather and work and everything else, other jobs which are more urgent have come up, i.e. the chickens need cleaning out. That's what I've got to get done today. It's been wet, it's been mushy and horrible. It's just starting to dry out a bit more in there now. I need to clear all of that out and give them some fresh bedding. But before I can do that, it's never easy, is it? Before I can do that, I've got to clear my compost heap because I use the deep bedding method for the chickens. There's about 4 to 6 inches, it varies on where you go. That's about the size of a single garage. And there's 4 to 6 inches of old bedding on the bottom of that. There's no room at the moment to put it on my compost heap. So the first job I've got to do is chuck out all of these teasel that I cut down yesterday. I've got teasel everywhere. I like it. It's here intentionally. Look, there it is along the front there. There it is growing down the side and along the back. There's a big patch of it. just through there, that's all teasel. I grow it for the butterflies and for the bees. It's a brilliant wildlife plant, but it does spread very readily, and I cut a load out of there. It was starting to shade out my first early potatoes a bit. Chucked it all on there. I think I'm just going to lob all that in the hedge for now. Well, lob all that in the hedge. And underneath there, all of this, I've got to dig it out and start spreading it around my beds as a bit of feed and a bit of extra mulch. These are my main crop potatoes, Sarpomera. They've started coming through very nicely. Where are we? There we go, there's one there. They've all started coming through. So they're going to want to I want to start piling up the mulch around them a bit now, so that's a good point for me to be digging out the compost heap. That's really good compost as well. It's about 50% chicken manure, so it's really good stuff. Going to spread it around on the beds. There's my second early potatoes. Sorry about the plane. Second early is obviously an earlier crop, and they're much further ahead than my main crops are. Again, I'm going to be spreading my compost on here because they want to be earthed up a little bit. And here's my first early potatoes in the tubs. They're actually very nearly, look, that one there got shaded out by the teasels. A bit spindly looking, but these are okay. And I think I saw a flower, which means it's only going to, yeah, there we go. There's a flower there. It's only going to be a couple of weeks now before they're ready. There's a whole load of different stuff, all waiting to go in the ground. I've got 5 tomato plants there, which are coming along really nicely. But these aren't too much of a hurry, to be honest. They're in good sized pots. They're not becoming root bound yet. They're not top of the list of priorities. They're not going to get done today. Maybe tomorrow or Monday, you never know. But it's these brassicas here that really, really want to get in the ground. They've got a bit too much in the way of roots at the bottom of the pot. And that's not bad, that one. There are others which are a bit more congested than that. So these all want to get into the ground ASAP. Nice and safe under that netting. Once they're dealt with, I've got some squash family here. That's a Crown Prince squash. 4 of them. These are pumpkins, Halloween pumpkins for the kids. This is the tomato shelter where the tomatoes are going to get planted. I need to clear all this crap out. I need to get rid of that teasel that's self-seeded. Do a little bit of weeding, it's not too much, it's never too bad in there. Mike, I saw your chilli plant yesterday on your video, and it's gone all long and leggy. Now these are exactly the same chilli plants as you've got, and they've not done that. This is more normal. So I think probably that chilli plant that's gone all long that you've got, it was probably struggling a bit for light, and it was growing as tall as it possibly could, as quickly as it could, to try and get some light. Personally, I would snip that one off in half and let it bush out like these ones. It will start putting out a few side shoots and just make a much stockier, bushier plant. You don't have to do that. If you're a bit nervous about doing it, or you just can't be arsed, I'll just stick a cane and tie it to that so it don't flop over, because it's so long. Once it starts getting some fruits on it, it's just going to bend over. So yeah, either stick a cane in it or snip it back, and it should start to bush out a bit like these ones. What else have I got there? They're butternut squash. They're all ready to go in the ground, but same as the other squashes, they're actually doing okay in these pots. I know they're looking quite big. Oh, they're putting on some rootage. Yeah, anyway, brassicas first. My cucumbers are down here. Got 6 cucumbers there, 3 of the Fem Spot variety and 3 of Burpless Ridge type ones. They've been in a week now, I think, and they've started climbing up their poles. They're doing alright. Also got, that I've just brought up here today, ready to go out as soon as I can. Lots and lots of sweet corn, 2 different varieties there. Can't remember what they are actually. Where's a label? One of these pots must have a label in it. No. There you go, gardening with Jim. And here's teasel being a carnivore. It traps rainwater in its leaves You can see down there there's a moth. There's a moth in there as well, both drowned in there. Then nutrients get absorbed by the leaves, so they produce even more seed. And up here, look, we've got a couple of amorous ladybirds. So let's hope they don't slip down there into the water. Little sparrow there, been digging worms out of the compost. There was a robin there a second ago as well. I've still got absolutely loads of it there, look. And under all that straw there's more of it, but I've got a dressing of it on these beds. You don't want to go overboard with this chicken manure compost because it is quite potent. I've given these 3 beds a top dressing with it, and I reckon that's probably cleared up just about enough space. I won't use any more of that this year now. I'll leave that at the bottom because it's got all of the worms and the bacteria and all the fungus. It's got all the right things in there ready to start composting the next layer that I'm about to put on. So we'll leave it there. That can stay till next year now. I'm going to pile it up with fresh chicken bedding. I think this is 2 years old, this stuff at the bottom of the pile, and you can see I don't really get it down to potting compost quality. That's probably about 90% rotted. Of course I use it as a top dressing rather than actually letting it rot, because it's taken 2 years just to get that far. If I was to try and work that down to potting compost grade compost, I don't know how long that would take, but this is good enough. This does just fine for mulching and top dressing. It's very, very rich. Really nice stuff. Right, that's it for today. 4 hours with a spade and a wheelbarrow is good enough for me. Didn't get any plants in. Half expected that to happen, but I did get the unexpected jobs that suddenly became quite urgent out of the way. I've got all that compost laid out on the beds. I've cleaned out the chickens. They've got a nice new thick layer of shavings and straw. And I'll be back tomorrow to actually start getting some plants in. Isn't that the idea, really? You're supposed to put plants in the ground, aren't you? Whoever it was who said that your allotment is supposed to get a little bit easier every year, I mean, in theory, they're kind of right, yeah. You know, as you get into the swing of it and you improve your soil and you work out your own systems, yeah, it should get a bit easier year for year. But what they didn't take into account is that every year you're another year older and another year more broken. You know, shorter of breath and 1 day closer to death, I think Pink Floyd said. I'm going to leave it there for today. I am absolutely knackered. I'll be back tomorrow and Monday, because I've got Monday off work as well. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be getting plants in the ground, and on Monday I'll make another short video just to show where the weekend finished up and what's in the ground and what isn't. Okay, I am shattered. I'm shattered. I'm just going to go home and relax now. I was hoping on mowing the lawn at home. I don't think so. Right, I'll see you on Monday. I hope this weather lasts. See you later.